The game was rigged from the start.
Oh, son of a bitch! Vegas! It's a hell of a town, baby! Fallout New Vegas, arguably one of the best Fallout games of all time, only after you install a ton of mods that make sure the damn thing doesn't crash. It's probably one of my favorite games to play. With almost 200 hours on my belt right next to the big iron on my hip, it's a game that I really have wanted to talk about on my channel for a long time. But the game has been around for over a decade, and there have been countless essays talking about this game. Some serious, some funny, and some that are just plain bizarre. So what can I, MangaKamen, say that many others haven't? And how can I do it in an entertaining way?
What the fuck do you think, asshole?
I've got it! Politics!
That was probably pretty dumb, huh?
You see, while you may just be a mailman of the Mojave Wasteland, you are the deciding factor of how the game's world will shape. You are the one who turns the tide of politics. Damn, who knew the postal system was so effective nowadays? Of course, you don't start off the game with that. No siree! Rather, you start off being dragged up in front of old Benny, who's looking to take the platinum chip, the MacGuffin of the game, from you. No one told you life was gonna be this way.
No one told you life was gonna be this way.
Damn it, Chandler. Well, after getting your head blown off, your ass thrown in a grave, and then pulled out of a grave, we finally get to our story. Just need to pick a name for our character. Oh wait, I can't choose that name. It's boring for this video. We need something a little more dynamic. There's only one name for a job like this. Damn it! Fine, I'll just pick the best name of all time. After we get our stats, with my sub-brick intelligence, because like everyone who has a social media account, my brain turns off when it comes to politics. We're finally ready to take on the political endeavors of...
What do you say you take a seat in my couch and we go through a couple of questions?
Why can't you be like the American health system? Just say I'm fine, give me some pills, and let me go on my way. What next, paperwork?
I got a form for you to fill out.
God damn it, this is the American health system, even in the apocalypse! Finally, so, after robbing the doctor who saved us, we can finally venture out into the wasteland and... Alright, the DLC. Let me just get my caravan shotgun and spears. Oh yeah, one more thing.
Welcome back to the Mr. New Vegas show.
Now we can get serious. When it comes to the politics of New Vegas, it's probably one of the best games to discuss it. Because while the Mojave has its own internal politics, it also has injections of other political entities in it. You've got the three big ones in the game. The New California Republic, otherwise known as the NCR, which, being from California, you know it's gonna be full of great ideas.
If the Legion breaks through our defenses, I got one bullet I'm saving just for me.
Well, that sounds like a great demonetizable plan. Then you've got the Legion, the evil faction. Why are they evil? Well, they go around killing towns, making slaves out of people, and worst of all, they seem to have taken a page out of Andrew Tate's book.
Alright, let's state the obvious. There's something wrong with me.
And finally, Mr. House, a man from before the war who managed to protect Vegas from the bombs dropping, and who has an army of Securitrons just waiting to be activated.
It's my invention, my property, mine! Now be a good courier and deliver it!
So your choices are incompetent government, slavers, or a creepy capitalist who's more potato than man. These three are the major factors in the Mojave, and while I will go more in depth with them later on, they all do act as the governing parties for the politics of the game. However, much like the real world, there are internal politics for locations. The first being Goodsprings, a town that gets mad if you grab yourself an unclaimed soda. Well, he's not even looking at me and he's hitting me with bullets. But after a quick reload, us going through a tutorial, leaving the town to find us a reference to one of the worst Indiana Jones scenes of all time, we're introduced to the local conflict that has some reference to one of the bigger powers. You see, there's a local gang called the Powder Gangers that are looking for a man named Ringo.
Yeah.
It's pretty quick to understand that the Powder Gangers aren't exactly the nicest people. To prove a point, before I undertook this mission, I had to take a trip to the local prison where they were all holed up in, and do a few quests just to get some more context in the situation. And, well... such cruelty! Such carnage! Is this what mankind has become after the bombs drop? Ooh, free stuff! Regardless, if you listen to the envoy of the Powder Gangers, Joe Cobb, he makes the claim that Ringo shot first instead of paying a toll to cross the Powder Gangers' territory. Ringo, on the other hand, makes the claim that the Powder Gangers had jumped his trading caravan, not even to drop your weapons before they shot. To be frank, it's not like we know the truth, we're kinda busy at the time. Either story could be true, and the game gives you the choice to join either side. Normally, though, I prefer to just become the Reaper of the Powder Gangers.
And then in walks the Powder Gangers' Grim fucking Reaper.
Also, due to the fact that the Powder Gangers don't make a strong case for wanting me to support them. Not only did they claim territory that doesn't actually belong to them, but they were willing to lay waste to the entire town of Goodsprings because of one man who wasn't actually a part of the town. I bring this particular situation up for a few reasons. One, because I like to show my sick skills with a gun.
Let's go.
Are you fucking kidding me?
But two, this acts as a microcosm for how the game allows you to tackle the actual political sides of the game. You technically don't need to learn the full story from either side to join them. You can just ignore all of that, or you can get one side and make your judgment there. The game actually respects the player's time, choice, and interpretation of the events, allowing the players to make their own judgment calls. After all, the mailman is the most important person in the Mojave right now. It should be noted that Goodsprings doesn't actually have an actual sheriff or anything that is ultimately structured like a government. For all intents and purposes, the residents are more like a neighborhood that has two places of business to it. They are a mostly isolated town too. They don't really have anything that is close to the town of Prim, and especially nothing like New Vegas, especially having naked girls dancing in the fountains.
Crocker can kiss my sweet Republic ass.
Get out!
Still, it was because of Ringo's actions that the town did get involved in the scuffle and could easily get the entire town killed because of it. If you talk to Chet the shopkeeper, he says that the town shouldn't get involved with trouble like this. It makes sense, the town doesn't have anything noteworthy, not a lot of resources other than a couple of water pumps. It's a simple life, and considering that they are practically isolated from other towns, it would make sense for the residents to want to keep their noses out of other people's businesses. And thirdly, the Powder Gangers actually act as a critique for one of the major factions in the game. That would be the NCR. You see, the NCR is trying to expand its territory because of the actions of the current administration. They're looking to make Nevada into another part of the government. That means they'll take towns and annex them, putting them under the NCR jurisdiction. And while that would give them protection, it's not a guarantee, and they'd be taxed out the wazoo. This is something we know will happen because when you finish a quest in Prim, you can choose to have the NCR become the governing body and act as the sheriff for the people. And if you return after instating the NCR, you'll learn that things aren't as great as you expect them to be. I don't usually choose the NCR for Prim because it's either the NCR, a former sheriff who got thrown into the pokey, or a robot with a cowboy hat. And I always choose the robot because look at him! He's got spurs that jingle, jangle, jingle! Awesome cowboy robots aside, the NCR is not perfect. Throughout the game, we constantly see critiques and issues with the NCR other than trying to reinstate the concept of taxes.
I can't tell whether you're joking or radiation melted part of your brain, but either way, I don't see a good reason to let you through.
But let's give a few examples. Remember the Powder Gangers?
Jesus fucking Christ!
We learned that by talking to them, there are a few of them who are arrested for dubious charges and were forced to become practical slaves with the NCR's expansion into Nevada. But due to the big-brained idea of giving the convicted felons dynamite, the Powder Gangers staged a coup, which killed the guards and took over the prison. If you talk to a few members about the NCR, they'll aptly describe the group as just assholes with power pushing people around. We can also ask the Powder Gangers about what they did to end up here. Some of them are genuinely monsters, like Scrambler, who killed a lot of people, and is a crime against nature with that haircut, but we also have Carter, who claims to have been framed by a casino bigwig. There's some moral gray stuff here with the Powder Gangers, but ultimately I turn against them because, yeah, when you basically try to take over small towns with the intent of killing everyone in it, you lose my sympathy, especially when you have the option of not doing that to survive. Then again, I also took out a gang of old ladies that were trying to kill me, so what do you take me for?
Lucky what we have here, ladies. Another unsuspecting pawn.
Frankly, once the Powder Gangers managed to liberate themselves, they could have easily migrated to a different part of the Mojave, since technically speaking, the NCR doesn't have authority over a number of places in it. But that doesn't change two things concerning the NCR: that they're not above forced labor or trumping up charges, and that there's a lot of incompetence within their ranks. Speaking of incompetence, to showcase the issues with the NCR, one of the best examples is at Helios 1, a solar power electrical plant that the NCR had taken from another faction called the Brotherhood of Steel. The goal was basically to make it so they could take advantage of the energy there. However, apparently the lead scientist guy they got, well...
I push buttons, I turn dials, I read numbers. Sometimes I make up little stories in my head about what the numbers mean.
Look, when you make someone like me out to be smart, someone who I may remind you has sub-brick intelligence, you know someone screwed up in the hiring process. This isn't to fully crap on the NCR, this is just to point out that the faction that unironically gets a ton of fleshing out and is probably one of the only factions to get this much death, though I chalked it up to the fact that the game was rushed to make the deadline that was insane, this is just to point out they're not above criticism. Then you have the Legion. As we discussed, they're the crew that makes slaves out of people, burn down towns, and for some reason loves the phrase, "Are you ready for some football?" It's pretty easy to designate the whole faction as the evil faction of the game, and as much as some people are raring to go, firing up their keyboards to warp what I'm about to say about them, yeah, they're evil, no doubt about that. It's why when I first met them in Nipton, my usual greeting was to say, "I'm gonna wear your head like you wear that dog's."
Legionaries, we have a problem.
Say hello to my little friend.
Whoa, Kamen, where'd you get that?
Internet?
Huh. Works for me. I see we're not helping the stereotype of mailmen going postal over their jobs.
I blame that. I want to point out something though, this is the first time that we actually get introduced to the Legion, and yes, they have done an atrocity, but the town they just razed to the ground, Nipton, was a morally dubious town, with the mayor being corrupt. Prostitution, taxation, and other dubious actions. I mean, the mayor was willing to serve up the NCR and the Powder Gangers to the Legion just for some caps. I mean, 8,000 a big number, and, well, just ask any YouTuber. They'll probably sell their souls for Raid Shadow Legends for that amount. No, this video isn't sponsored, don't worry. The people of Nipton weren't exactly the greatest people, but did they deserve death or slavery by lottery?
Yeah! Who won the lottery? I did!
Man, ever since Yosuke left Inaba, he really fell on hard times to become a powder ganger. That's for all the jokes at Kanji's expense. Now, you can certainly judge Nipton and its mayor for their actions, and you can think the Legion are evil sacks of garbage that deserve to be shoved into lockers. These are not mutually exclusive facts. But here's what makes Fallout New Vegas really stand out with its views of politics. It allows the player to explore the many options in the Mojave and allows people to have proper discussion about the politics. This isn't a centrist view or both sides are bad thing. It's actually what good media does, and explores the nuances and context of situations. It doesn't shove it in the player's faces like a dingus on Twitter does with obviously botted likes. Take the Nipton massacre again. You are perfectly right to condemn the Legion for their actions here, and you can just leave it at that. You don't have to explore the town to find this context about the corrupt mayor or the prostitution that was going on. However, it adds context that while yes, Nipton are clearly victims in this, there was corruption and it wasn't just a bunch of innocent civilians. Still, the punishment clearly didn't fit the crime. The whole idea is that all the options suck in the game, and that's the point. The NCR has a lot of corruption and incompetence. The Legion is filled with sexist idiots who seem to have the cocky jock mentality that they're better than everyone else. But what about Mr. House? Well, he's an egotistical autocrat whose whole idea is to basically continue to have New Vegas operate as it does, but only allow New Vegas to thrive while the rest of the Mojave is left in the squalor. Good old-fashioned capitalism. But you see my point, right? Exploration of ideas is not a bad thing. Learning what one side actually believes and learning about the inner workings of a faction, as well as the positive and negatives of any idea, is healthy for growth and maturity, especially when it comes to political ideas. It's better to be educated and make an informed decision than to simply regurgitate what a talking head on the screen says.
It's my invention, my property, mine!
Yeah, we can joke about how awesome it is to shoot a bullet into a raider and watch them explode into meaty chunks. And that's perfectly fine. Sure, my psychologist may question my sanity, but that also lends to the strength of the politics in Fallout New Vegas. You can choose to engage with it or not. Are you looking to find a political drama where you, the mailman, can literally choose the fate of an entire state? Or do you want to be the mailman who just lost a chunk of his brain that held his empathy cells that loves every gun he can get his hands on? Choices are the bread and butter of politics, and it's in your hands if you want to explore the context and nuance.
But we can't expect God to do all the work.
Oftentimes, especially in modern media, I find that when games are typically trying to be political, it's because they really want to push one specific view onto the players, and sometimes the way it's written will have a clear, "These are the good guys, and these are the bad guys! Shoot the bad guys!" This isn't me knocking this sort of writing. A simple good guys versus bad guys plot will never not be a solid foundation, but it's a lack of skepticism on the good guys at times that makes it hard to really take it seriously.
There is much to be skeptical of in this world. So it no longer surprises me to learn how many people don't really believe in anything.
It's really easy to ignore any and all issues one particular side has, especially if it's a side that you proudly wear as a badge on your chest. It's more convenient to just point the finger at an opposing side and blame them for your issues. You can easily look at Caesar's Legion and see that it's a very fragile, very faulty faction that will only last as long as Caesar lives. But that doesn't automatically mean that the NCR is perfect. Far from it, especially when you just peel back the surface a little bit, and it wouldn't take long for you to find some of the faults. The corruption, the incompetence. Again though, you don't need to engage with this. You can just separate the political intrigue and get to the shooty bang bang parts. It's part of the reason why you can just mash through the text and there aren't any real dedicated cutscenes in the game. Games are not movies, no matter how much the AAA industry would like to make them out to be. The interactive parts are a key element of gaming, especially when it comes to the narrative. Not every player is going to agree with the developer's politics one for one, and if it's shoved down a player's throat, or if it's like a lecture that doesn't respect the player's time and intelligence, there are going to be people who are going to reject it. Let's give one more example. Spoilers for the Lonesome Road DLC. At the end of the DLC, you have a choice to launch nukes at the NCR, the Legion, both, or neither. Now, from what I said in this video about the Legion, I'm sure those who aren't familiar with the story would believe that you should nuke the Legion. After all, they're evil bastards that are willing to kill people, act as judge, jury, and executioners, and will take people for slaves. But that last point should stop you right there. The slaves. If you nuke the Legion, you're more than likely going to kill the slaves that we know they have in their camps. Now, depending on who you ask, it's a proper sacrifice for the greater good to wipe the Legion off the map. That's kind of the point of the Lonesome Road. It's a meta-commentary on player choice, but also puts forward that people won't stop to think about their actions, just following the orders or the flow of others. In my opinion, the best option is to stop the nukes from launching. Even if you hate the Legion or have distaste for the NCR, wiping them off the map isn't worth eliminating the possible countless innocents who'd get caught up in the blast. But the biggest element of politics for New Vegas is the message of change. Everyone knows the iconic line from Fallout, even if they've never played the games.
War never changes.
We can play semantics with it all day long, but people are not war. People have the power to change things and themselves, and even one man can make a change for the better or for the worse. Even the mailman can make a difference. It just takes determination, hard work, and weighing the options. Human emotions aren't black and white, and neither are politics. They aren't set in stone and will change with the times and paths we take. So with that...
It's said, war never changes. Men do, through the roads they walk. And this road has reached its end.
I still enjoy turning people into ragdolls and meaty chunks though. That's still fun as all hell.
Jesus fucking Christ!